Hey everyone, it's Boogeyman Ben. Hope everyone's doing well and everyone's having a great day. Today's video is going to be about... What was that?
Boogeyman Ben.
Now I know I'm a little late to the game on this one, but I just saw Gareth Edwards' new film, Godzilla, which was released about 2.5 weeks ago, I believe. So I'm a little late in doing this review, but after seeing the film, I thought it was important for me to put out my thoughts on the movie, because I know the movie's a little bit mixed. I mean, some audiences really love it, some audiences are not as fond of it. I have always been a big Godzilla fan. I grew up loving these films, the original Japanese films. When I was a kid, they were on TV all the time. I loved King Kong versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. I have a lot of old Godzilla toys, Japanese toys that I got when I was a kid from the comic book store I used to go to as a kid, Pinole Toy and Comic. It specialized in not only comic books, but Japanese toys and things like that, like I think it was Ultraman, and had Mothra and all kinds of things. This is one of the oldest things I have in this room. This was actually given to me in 1984 by my Uncle Tim. It was probably my favorite Christmas present, one of my favorite Christmas presents of all time. I still have it. He's still in good shape. The only thing, this arm broke, and I was able to glue it back together, but he's just a plastic Godzilla, but I'll show him a little bit closer. He's still in really good shape. I've always loved Godzilla, the old Godzilla movies. So I've always been a big fan of the original Godzilla. I did see the Roland Emmerich film, the Godzilla, 1998's Godzilla, and I did get a figure from that movie as well. I have this one, and he talks. You can see his jaw opens up. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the film. I didn't really like Godzilla's look as much. I've always preferred the original Godzilla look. I just like this one better. I just wasn't a huge fan of the 1998 film. I thought it was a little disappointing. I thought it was more in the vein of like Jurassic Park, Lost World kind of thing than, a true Godzilla film or what a Godzilla film represented. I didn't like the fact that they changed his look, and I think a lot of people didn't. The advertising campaign for that movie was brilliant. They would have bus ads that would say, his tail is longer than this bus, and things like that, and I thought that was really smart, but the actual film is just, it had a lot of really bad performances, really over the top, just like a typical Roland Emmerich film. I'm not a huge fan of him as a director. I think the only movie I like that he's done is Independence Day. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that. And it took a long time for them to make another Godzilla film. I mean, that was, 15 years ago that movie came out. So yeah, it took a long time for them to make a new Godzilla film. And I heard that they were going to be doing. And I wasn't very familiar with Gareth Edwards. I had heard he had directed a movie called Monsters in 2010. But from the trailers for this movie, I was really excited to see it. I thought these trailers were really smart, because they didn't show Godzilla very much. They showed parts of him. You'd see like the shadow, or you'd see the back of him, or you'd hear his roar, or you'd see him in the shadows. And that was really very smart marketing. One of my big issues today with movie trailers is they show everything. When I went and saw Neighbors, I felt like I saw half the movie because of the trailer. The trailer showed all the funny parts. I thought the X-Men trailer was really well done, and I really loved the way they did the Godzilla trailer, just because it was very kind of left to the imagination. Of course, as the movie was closer to opening, they would reveal Godzilla a little bit more. But again, I think it was very smart the way the studio marketed the film, and just sort of like, showing him very quickly, or not really showing him at all, and you just hear him. I'm not going to give a lot of spoilers about the story because I went into this movie knowing nothing about the story. I refuse to read any spoilers about it. I will talk about the cast and who wrote it and everything. So we have Aaron Taylor-Johnson from Kick-Ass, who plays Ford Brody. You have Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Ellie Brody. Of course, the great Bryan Cranston as Joe Brody. Ken Watanabe as Dr. Ishiro Surizawa. Sorry if I said that wrong. The story was written by Dave Callahan, and the screenplay was done by Max Bornstein, and of course it was directed by Gareth Edwards. I'm not going to give a lot of plot details out about this film because, like I said, I went in knowing nothing about it other than Godzilla was going to be wrecking shit. And I want people that haven't seen the film to kind of go into it with that same kind of understanding about what the overall movie is about. I will say there's some terrific performances in it. Of course, Bryan Cranston is really great in it. I just really love the pacing of the film. It's not a film like Pacific Rim. I'll put that out there right now. It's not. It's a slower building film, and I think that's why some audiences are being turned off by it. It's not something where there's a big battle going on every 10 minutes. It's really character driven, story driven. It's focusing on on the main characters, which are the Brody family. Of course, Bryan Cranston is fantastic in it. He's fantastic in everything. A lot of people have been really critical of Aaron Taylor-Johnson in his role as Ford Brody, and I actually thought he did a really good job in the film. He's a military man. A lot of people are saying he doesn't have enough emotion in the film, but again, I think he plays it really well. I think there are scenes where he does show emotion, but again, he's a military man, and I thought that the way that Aaron played the character was very well done. I also thought Elizabeth Olsen as Ellie Brody did a fantastic job in the film. I've only seen her in one other film, which was Silent House, and I fucking hate that film. Not because of her, I just thought it was a really gimmicky, shitty film, but that's another story. Ken Watanabe is really good in it as well. I'm not a huge fan of the guy, and I haven't followed like all of his work, but I thought he did a really good job in the film. I will say that Godzilla is fantastic looking. He looks. I know of course, it's not going to be a man in a costume like in the original Japanese films, but I think that they really in a CGI way, they captured the essence and the look of Godzilla while sort of changing things about him, but he looks like Godzilla. He doesn't look like, the way that they changed him up in the Roland Emmerich film in '98. I really thought that he looked fantastic in this film. I love that it was a slow build to actually revealing him. There are some tremendous battle scenes in this film. If you can't tell already by the way I'm talking about the film, I fucking loved Godzilla. It's my favorite film of 2014. I know previously I said that X-Men Days of Future Past was, but I saw this after that, so Godzilla takes the reign for me. It was everything I wanted in a monster movie, and I love the way it's done. And I don't understand why some people are saying it's boring or poorly paced or it should be tighter. I think it's just it was great. It was a slow build. It reminded me of something like Jaws. I actually read an article on Arrow in the Head where they talked about the same thing where, Jaws was not about seeing the shark. It was about tension. It was about the characters. It was about the mood of the film. The fact that the scariest thing about Jaws was not seeing him or not knowing where he is. And just seeing the fin of Jaws real quickly or his shadow or, anything like that of how big he is. That's what I think made Jaws so great, and I feel like audiences today are they want the payoff without the buildup, and you really, once you finally get to the last act of this film, I mean, it is a throwdown, and it's tremendous, and I thought it was a fantastic action. There was fantastic action in it when the action is there. It's just a fantastic film in my opinion. I absolutely loved Godzilla. I highly recommend it to fans of the original Japanese films. My rating for Godzilla is a 10 out of 10. Easily my favorite film of the year. One of my favorite monster movies. I loved Pacific Rim last year, but Pacific Rim is very different, so don't go into this film thinking it's going to be like Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim is a little bit more over the top in terms of the action scenes. This one is a little bit more realistic with the action scenes. by realistic, I mean it's not going to be, you know, Godzilla picking up ships and throwing them at things. It's a little bit more like just wrecking things, like a gigantic monster would. So, you know, I mean, that it's a terrific film. I don't want, like I said, I'm not going to blow any plot points or anything like that. I did give a little bit, tidbits of things that I've heard rumors of people not being happy with. But for me, it was a fantastic film. I absolutely love Godzilla. If you're a fan of the old films, I definitely recommend going and checking it out. 10 out of 10 for me. I hope I get to see it again soon. I would love to see it again in the theater. So yeah, that's going to be it for my review of the film Godzilla, the 2014 Godzilla. I hope everyone enjoyed this review. If you've seen the film, please share your thoughts with me in the comment section below. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their weekend. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. Peace.